Been too long. Glad to be back.
Ladies and gents, internet, my name is Peridiam, and for the first time since May of 2020, we're actually reviewing a season of Survivor. Forewarning, if you haven't seen Survivor 41, there will be lots and lots of spoilers ahead. I will be covering everything from the pre-merge to the post-merge to the finale, the cast, the twists, and yes, everything in between, and especially Jeff's haircut. So let's talk about what we just watched. Like a long-lost friend, cast away on an island for 16 months, familiar, yet unfamiliar. Half human, half monster emerging from the jungle, hopped up on its own supply and ready to show us everything it's learned after being lost at sea in the voracious laboratory that is Jeff's mother lobe. Here's my review for Survivor 41.
Survivor started out as this tiny little social experiment, and it has evolved into one of the most mentally draining, physically challenging, and socially complicated games ever seen on television. And you've been there every step of the way. We just want to have fun this season, so we're going to lean into the best kind of Survivor fun, the dangerous kind.
First up, let's start with what I think is the most apt place for this season, and that is going to be the twists. And wow, do we have a laundry list of randomness to sift through. Like parsing through the aftermath of my college roommate's Walmart runs, a pirate wheel, 2 dozen dice, an hourglass, a hammer, and some lockboxes. In truth, this season's twists were basically all examples of game theory. As if Jeff plucked a nearby econ undergrad off the street and said, "Hey, I'll give you $50 if you can combine the prisoner's dilemma with Survivor." Although I just gotta say that turned out to be more of a trust dilemma or a stag hunt, because, working together through the power of friendship is always the right answer here, which is also what we saw in the episode. I didn't mind this recurring twist through the pre-merge. We've seen it play out throughout all of Survivor in some iteration, from Exile Island to Ghost Island to Redemption Island, and now we've got Survivor Shipwheel Island. It's just some detour away from the main game to see a side story potentially blossom. And I think having the tribes form cross-tribal bonds and alliances only proved to make what happens next a little bit more exciting. Evie and Deshawn bond, and then that comes full circle at the merge. Or the powerful moment between Shan and Liana bonding over their upbringing. I think we have seen so many swaps occur for so long in Survivor, and personally, I'm a little swapped out and happy to not have them here. But still, letting the cast meet each other and decide whether to burn one another or not in this little game isn't half bad. The Hourglass Twist, however, that was a whole lot of nothing. And while I can see what Probst was going for here, it was the trolley dilemma with Erica deciding which half of the cast should get run over. The problem here is that the twist was entirely ineffective because Erica was also tied to the tracks, and thus the entire point of the dilemma was rendered moot. If a train is going to hit you, of course you're gonna pull the lever and send it in a different direction, or smash the hourglass and send it careening the other way. Erica needed to have immunity no matter what decision she made for this moment to really land. Having to wait an entire week, or even just spend an entire episode dedicated to explaining this overly complicated twist, how winning immunity didn't matter, how smashing the hourglass was a no-brainer, how all of it just felt like filler, was bad. Simply put, it was the most overly produced episode of Survivor, I think, in over 500 episodes. There's a reason each episode ends with a tribal council or an elimination. Survivor episodes have had the perfect formula since the very beginning, and without said conclusion, without the tribal council or the elimination, the entire narrative arc goes belly up. Again, I just really wish that Erica was already immune here. It's not unheard of for exiled players to get immunity, and this time it was crucial. Also, whatever happened to surviving until the merge being the way to earn your way into the merge? I know, Jeff, I know, we're 40 seasons deep, let's mix it up, but this Hourglass twist just needs a little bit of tweaking.
A Survivor player's journey often comes down to a moment, and sometimes the moment starts with luck of the draw.
Oh my God! If I can survive here, survive double my Survivor nightmare, I'm going to come back into the game still looking like a lamb, but ready to play like a lion. And now I have this decision. It allows me to hit a hard reset. The reality is I have no idea what's ahead. So I have to just trust that whatever I do, it's going to be the best route for me.
The do or die twist was a weird one. Like Russian roulette with its own twist, the stakes were higher than ever, and if you knew the Monty Hall problem, you would recognize the odds were actually in your favor even if they were still entirely left up to chance. On one hand, I like that the players can opt out of the twist, and that they knew the stakes were high from the very beginning, and that it involved an immunity challenge and punishing those who performed poorly. My only qualm is that I don't think the final vote should ever be taken away, because that's the bread and butter. That's the most compelling part of this show. Reducing a player's life to an absolute game of chance, even if they knew the Monty Hall problem ahead of time and could up their odds, it still doesn't take away how absurd it is that Survivor as a game is so compelling, and a random chance elimination is the exact opposite. Sure, we hold our breath, but if you think about it while you're holding your breath, how ridiculous is it that Deshaun was randomly saved by nothing but luck? Like literally nothing else, just luck. Even after making the suboptimal choice, even after speedrunning losing the challenge within 3 seconds. Again, if I had to tweak this, I would suggest the do or die send players into exile or like take away their vote or something just a little less drastic, because Survivor for a third time is such a compelling game as it is. There is no reason to swap out a complicated social formula for one predicated entirely on luck. So much of Survivor is luck-based, from the cast, to the twist, to the season you get put on, to even getting on the show in the first place. But the vote is where rubber hits the road. It's where merit is awarded, and you can't do that with this twist. I guess if Deshaun knew of the Monty Hall problem and then switched and got it right, we could, but that wasn't what happened. No doubt Suri would have switched and been eliminated. And who wants to see that?
Jeff, my heart is telling me to choose this box, so I'm gonna choose this box.
Do you want to keep the box you have, or
What the heck?
do you want to trade for this box?
Monty Hall problem.
Oh my God. Deshaun got blamed.
They did.
You are safe, my friend.
Oh my God. No way.
The shot in the dark was okay. It encourages blindsides because a player at the bottom might take their shot. We did see it get used with Sydney, and it kind of screwed her over. I'm fine with this twist given that it's not overpowered. It's a defensive tool intended to save yourself if you're truly backed into a corner. And as we saw, giving up your vote is a huge endeavor. And then the advantage stealer, or the knowledge is power. An incredibly powerful tool designed to prevent players from just using an idol every episode, or for a player on the bottom who needs an idol from someone on the top. Given this was put into the game right before the merge, I'm guessing the producers wanted this to be used exactly when it was, given the idols were all public. I don't really love the idea on paper of advantages canceling out other advantages, especially when the idols this season were forced to be public knowledge, but then at the same time, it did create emerging gameplay when Xander transferred his idol at the merge to dodge Liana's less than powerful, outdated knowledge. The public idols were pretty funny. They do kind of hamper the blindside at Tribal, but still, lots of unique gameplay happened. Ricard trying to think up ways for Shan to say the broccoli phrase, or Nasir hiding his idol until the last second. Gotta love a good flashback.
All right.
Jeff, I am as confused as a goat on AstroTurf.
Oh my God. Kind of a fuzzy top. I feel like a broccoli still. Broccoli is grows little bunches on small trees, so I feel like a little broccoli tree, I guess.
Of course, can't have the good without the bad. I really didn't like that the players would lose their vote for finding an idol. It made the whole pre-merge unnecessarily complicated. And on top of Shipwheel Island and any other shenanigans happening, it all started to feel like just too much, too quickly. The beauty of Survivor is not going to be found in players reading papers or rules to us and having to explain to us in confessionals what trinket they just found. A lot of this sort of segues into the pre-merge, so let's jump into that and cover those 6 or 7 episodes, not sure where we draw the line with that wonky hourglass. I was incredibly excited to have Survivor back, and the premiere was more than enough to get me back in the groove. 16 months since the finale of Winners at War, I am a thirsty finalist on the side of the road. I will take anything you can give me, Sue. The biggest change for me, outside of Jeff being very extra in every scene, was the editing. Survivor has really leaned into its explosive narrative storytelling, and this premiere set the tone right away. And if you're looking for editing Easter eggs, just go back and rewatch the intro when the players are coming in on the boats. It highlighted every single twist of this season, and then some. We saw personal flashback moments from the players' homes that for some viewers, I think it took them out of the show, and for others, they probably recognized this was giving us more depth to the players that we would usually get anyway. I don't think these flashbacks took anything away from the episode. I mean, they only showed us more of who these people were and what they were playing for instead of just telling us like every other season. Australian Survivor loves to do this to an even grander degree, but I felt like the Survivor 41 flashbacks were just enough, because I walked away from this cast feeling like I knew a lot of them better than I even knew a lot of returning players. Survivor never gets too deep in its presentation. It's the nature of the 42 episode beast, but I think anything that can add a bit of character depth isn't a bad idea to to pursue. That being said, circling back to the paper talk, one of my least favorite episodes in Survivor history was episode 3, when Brad was voted out. Entirely because every scene was either the players hunting for paper, reading to us the paper they just found, or reacting to others finding paper. Y'all, I was really losing momentum with the season by that point. I would have taken anything to just grab the producers and tell them to chill out for half a second. I know we got flashbacks, but like, let the cast be the focus of the season, not your zany ideas. I kept thinking the show was having an identity crisis. It couldn't tell if it wanted to be about the people or the rules of the game the people were playing. And I think I got it. This was that monster in the preseason marketing, and it was devouring the airtime and leaving me frustrated.
Congratulations, you have found an advantage.
Congratulations, you have found an advantage.
It's time meeting with members of the opposition. Each have a decision to make. Tribe advantage or a steal a vote. If all players choose steal a vote, there is a split decision.
If all three of us wrote steal a vote, we all lost our vote at tribal council. And 2 steal a votes, then you both get steal a votes, and she doesn't get a tarp.
Idol is still worthless at this point. It is not activated.
Brad, chop spoken.
But then the clouds parted, and for the rest of the pre-merge, and really the season, there was nothing but fresh air. Episodes 4 and 5 were great. Danny and Deshawn failing to throw the challenge to oust Erica was hilarious. Nasir's idol find, and just Nasir in general, were highlights. You had the Yase baby turtles and their underdog arc. Oh, how quickly they grow up and reach those literal waters. And we had Uwa, one of the most captivating pre-merge tribes I have ever seen. While sometimes frustrating, the scenes between Shan and Ricard arguing over who should have more power, bickering like, ex-lovers or something, was great. The show just let us listen to them go back and forth for way longer than usual, almost unedited even, and I was living for it. Shan and Ricard absolutely crushed that tribe to a pulp, and I mean that in the nicest way. The outplay of JD on 2 separate occasions, tricking Jeannie into not keeping the idol. The ruse they pulled to get Shan to actually have the real idol. Shan never received a vote against her in a tribe of 6 that went into the merge with only 2 players. That is damn impressive. And for a minute, I thought we might be looking at the winner in a celebratory fashion with how visible she was all season. The merge. Survivor Limbo? Mergatory? Whatever we're calling it. It was a wild ride. I didn't love the Hourglass Twist, as already talked about early in the video. I'm on Team Danny when he says that winning immunity should mean something. We're not playing Mario Party. We don't need to just take away players' stars for no reason. And I don't fault Erica at all for smashing the Hourglass, and neither did the cast, because it was the obvious choice. Which makes it all the more baffling the producers made this a cliffhanger. That said, the strategy here, with only so many players being eligible to be voted for, and the subsequent vote, were chaotic. But most merges are chaotic, so that's like saying water is wet, and we love that for it. But between the Nasir idol find to Xander and Evie and Tiffany's fake idol play, I gotta give as much praise as I can to the editors for making these moments all the more exciting. Moments like these are the upside to these new twists, and I can't say I wasn't wide-eyed with excitement when they happened. Whatever Jeff was on all season, I will take 2, and if you can inject it into my veins, all the better.
I have such a great seat. Look what you caused, Erica.
I know. I can't believe I'm actually here and there's actual whispering happening around me and people have whispered in my ear.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, I mean, it's no secret that I have the hidden immunity idol. It's honestly a burden at this point, so I'm happy to give it away.
So I just have one question for one player. Do you have an idol, Xander?
No, but you can have this fake.
From here on out, the post-merge, for me, was one great episode after the next. Partially because I was personally blindsided each week, thinking Tiffany was the winner, then Evie was the winner, and then was it really Shan after all? No, it's not Shan, she's getting so many negative moments from other players. But from episode 7 with the fake idol play onward, I was locked and loaded and loving it. Losing Tiffany hurt my soul. She was a lot of fun. I love when players don't hold back, and then seeing both Nasir and Evie dip out back to back in the double boot, it's rough. But between Shan's extra vote play against Nasir to Xander doing the opposite and not extending a hand to help Evie when those Yase baby turtles needed it most, I was pleasantly surprised how much I was nodding to the beat of this season. And then we had one of the greatest episodes ever, the Shan boot episode. Maybe I'm reading a little bit too much into it, maybe I'm borrowing a little bit too much from my college essay where I wrote about Survivor and Shakespeare, but this episode felt Shakespearean in nature. How it was edited and portrayed was so good. so many great moments that I will say it is one of the best episodes in Survivor history. Ricard's heel turn was in the tea leaves since those early UA days, and damn, that story came full circle. Shan was blindsided by her closest ally after she tried to save him no less, with an idol in her pocket after just using their extra vote in lockstep in the previous episode after being in the majority alliance and being in the driver's seat all post-merge despite entering that merge with just 2 players. Shan's ouster was the base dropping. It was cataclysmic for the story, and it left me wondering where the story was going to go from there.
What you singing over there?
Oh, sorry, nothing. I was thinking.
I was supposed to be going home today, tonight, but I won the challenge. So, I've decided that today is the day for Shan to go.
We always said when the time was right, we'd give each other permission to do this.
11th person voted out, and the 4th member of our jury, Shan.
That was good.
Good game, Shan.
Liana, you
Great game,
played.
Shan.
I take no joy in this.
I know. I played a good game, and this was a dream come true. I love you, babe.
Shan, tribe has spoken.
Post-apocalyptic is a genre often explored, but what about in Survivor? The denouement for Survivor 41 was definitely felt on my end. With Shan gone, seeing the aftermath was like coming home from war to find that there was still a more personal war happening back home. It was the scouring of the Shire. It was a whole lot of hell from Deshawn and Danny turning on their Black Alliance, though justifying to Liana and later Shan with their side of the story. At the end of the day, the game took precedence, and I understood where Deshawn was coming from when he explained himself about the decision to vote out Shan.
I think it's tough because you still want to win for yourself. There's like that duality, like hold on for a second. The gameplay and morals intersected and it was so hard.
All right, bro.
Because this is a game that I love and I came here to play it. But people don't understand that extra baggage that you bring into this game. I had to make that hard decision, and it was the toughest thing I've ever had to do.
Likewise, at the same time, I also understood what Liana said at her last tribal council before Deshawn lucked into safety, where she clearly explained what it means to bring these topics up in a game like Survivor, or at least what it means for her. And nothing she said, or Danny said, or what anyone said there was the least bit controversial. And even though it would have been fun to see her cuss out Xander for using his extra vote against her on the way out, just to ensure that she goes, I do think this was a good conclusion for her time on the island. Also, if you don't watch the secret scenes, it turns out Xander had a crush on Liana, which just cracked me up. Really added an extra layer to their season-long feud.
If she knew like how I actually felt about her, like then she'd be like, yeah.
I told you.
It's literally just like it's all the strategy that like makes her think that I like.
You are lying. No. He thinks you're so attractive, but like you just need to dial it down. That is so ridiculous. It happened. It's flattering at least, but it's also like so. That's like it's so ridiculous. It's like it's just funny that he could potentially have like liked me this whole time, and I've just like been going so hard against him.
Oh yeah, and speaking of Danny, one of the best ex-pro athletes we have ever seen play the game, not since maybe Brad Culpepper or even Gary Hawkins. Gary Hawkins, that's his name, in season 11. Not since him have we had a player conceal their athletic success and play an equally great game. Flew under the radar, was positioned really well, and I think had a challenge or two broke out a different way, I could see him winning. Or maybe if and or when he gets a second chance. And since I'm already kind of giving you guys my thoughts on this cast, let's talk about the cast. There were a handful of fan favorites that easily could have been plucked to make a new tribe on an all-star season. Like, straight up, I need Broccoli Brad back. When are we gonna get that pre-merge all-star season? Every scene with this guy was gold, every single one. He only made 3 episodes, but I need that 4th episode. And speaking of 4 episodes, JD was one of my favorites. Sloppy, but I love Sloppy. I'm also pretty sure he watches my channel. What's up, JD? Sydney felt like an old school villain. Nasir had the biggest smile, happiest man in Survivor. That is, was, and forever will be Nasir. And Evie, I was rooting for Evie so hard. I had a crackpot winner theory about Evie. It almost made sense, but maybe it was for their all-star return. But the biggest all-star, by far, one of the biggest ever, to be honest, especially for an 8th placer, is Shan. In the preseason, I didn't have a great read on her and didn't know what to make of her, and wow, I am now realizing she would have blindsided me too. Shan was spectacular TV. She played the game so damn hard. She really leaned into the latest meta of the show. She poured her heart into this season, and it's not a question of if she'll play again, just when. Xander was the season-long underdog. From the moment he found that idol, he was backed into a corner, and it was fun to watch him somehow manage to survive the pre-merge without a vote, the merge with a fake idol, and then the post-merge with so much chaos happening around him and no allies. While his voting record when he could vote left something to be desired, I still love a cheeky underdog, and even though he didn't win, I'm glad that he was around all the time as the extra, X factor in any episode. Ricard was the mastermind we didn't see coming. Oh no, he was there in the cracks of the story the entire time, lurking in Shan's shadow. But man, when the time was right, he struck like that snake that everyone described him as. And hats off to him, one of the best moves of the season. Between him and Erica at the final 8, I love me a good blindside. Ricard played how I would love to play, and for that, I can't not give him all of my praise. Even though I very much question his taste in pizza.
I just didn't think I would do so well. I did not think that I was capable. And I'm actually really kick-ass at Survivor. I'm good at it.
But let's talk about the finale, the ending to the beginning of this dawn of a new era. Believe it or not, that was actually the original subtitle for this season, Dawn of a New Era, instead of just 41. We were told to drop the 4 and keep the 1. And I think we may have seen that play out more than Jeff realized or was hoping for. With no idols played all season up to this point, no advantages being played outside of some minor extra votes, this was a season defined by its social gameplay through and through. Unlike season 40 or 39 or 38, where idols and advantages were just pouring out the wazoo, season 41 reverted more to the 1 than it did the 4. It was dependent way more on the social gameplay, the social ties, the social makeup of the jury and the cast, the bonds they formed and the emotions they felt and the turbulent waters they went through together as a cast, with their complicated relationships defining the gameplay each and every episode. Episode 3 was my least favorite episode of the season, and it's also thankfully, almost jarringly, the oddest duck of the bunch. And that's why I loved the finale and all it gave us, and how it switched up the formula, yet stayed the course for the better, like the rest of the season leading up to it.
I get underestimated because of how I look and my size, but inside, I know that I'm a fierce competitor, a lion that dressed like a lamb. No matter what gets thrown at me tonight, I have everything it takes to win.
Like much of the season, the finale was mostly unpredictable. I think the average fan didn't see the winner coming, let alone a good handful of my own superfan subs. And I personally relish the moment where a season-whopping blindside is in the works. Because for much of the season, I did not see the winner coming either. It was only until mid-November that a light bulb went on, and I started to get suspicious. It dawned on me that the winner's story was being told, but it was in the cracks of the bigger players, the more prominent stories dominating the airtime. And I think on a rewatch, if you specifically look for it, you will find it. Erica played Survivor in a more old school fashion. She laid low, she intentionally flew under the radar to start, was perceived as a threat early on, but her tribe kept winning, partially thanks to her, so she never had to vote. She gets unfortunately exiled at the merge, breaks some prop from Pier 1 to earn immunity. Props to her for not feeling any blowback from that decision, and suddenly she's in the Majority Alliance. But the Majority Alliance fractured, and she was there in the episodes telling us what she was thinking every step of the way. I just think a lot of people weren't paying attention. She scooped up the underdogs, split the vote against Shan, was the deciding vote alongside Heather against Liana, split the vote to get Danny out over beatable Deshawn, won immunity at the final 5, and even managed to get taken to the final 3 after Xander made a potentially game-ending misread. Erica was there for all of that, just as many other under-the-radar winners have been in the past on their roads to victory. And this time, I was paying attention. Erica winning made sense, and I was more than happy to see her take the crown. She played a great game, although I wouldn't have minded if she was more visible in the early game. And on that note, also, same goes for Heather, her #1 ally. How 2 of these women make the final 4 and are not established early on in the story? I don't get it. Erica wasn't established early enough, and although from the final 8 onwards, she did call a lot of the shots, there were so many more visible players to pay attention to that she kinda got lost in the fold. And again, weirdly enough, Heather just wasn't even in the fold. It's fitting that Erica described herself at the end of the season as being that intern that she's being perceived as, when in reality, she was the dark horse, and she was the eventual winner all along.
I've spent almost 10 years going into boardrooms. People treat me like the intern, but I'm really the one who's running the meetings. Again, I was never out in front, but I was never quite at the bottom. And at every tribal council I went to, I was on the right side of the vote. So I wasn't sure what the path for me was going to be to the end when the game started, but I knew if I got there, I'd be a dark horse.
I envy you because you played the game that I really wanted to play and tried to. So congratulations to you.
Me too. Me too.
The winner of Survivor 41, Erica. All the rest are yours as well.
Erica, congrats. Oh man, that's a generous conversion rate. And given the likes of Samoa, South Pacific, Ko Wrong, I'm sure we'll hear a lot of, was Xander robbed? And what did Erica even do? She was so lucky. But being the first woman to win Survivor in over 1,600 days, not since season 34 has a woman won this game. It's a strangely abnormal achievement as of late. It's noteworthy. It's different. It's a new era. I say, let's not drop the 4, but keep the 4. Why not? Let it be defined for what it is. Survivor is over 40 seasons deep, yet it still harkens back to the early days, even today. Out of the gate, I was hesitant with the direction of the season. I was nervous for several weeks with how many random twists were being put into play. But by the end, I was more than satisfied. It's not a perfect season, but if I were to rank every season of Survivor right now in this video, I would rank 41 in my upper half. Not sure exactly where yet. This was above average, sometimes in spite of itself, but mostly because of how strong the cast was and how compelling the dynamics were each and every week. The boot order was at times merciless. The screen time equity at times was up for debate. I think for the most part the editing was on point and balanced, if not leaving something to be desired for its winner, but ultimately it was a good season. It gave me hope that even after a 16-month hiatus, Survivor is just as capable as it's always been for the past 21 years, and what's more, this is just the beginning, and we've got a lot of game left to be played.
The path to the end, it didn't have to be pretty. I think Tiffany and I talked about it. Didn't have to be pretty, I just had to get here. I didn't have to look like the one in charge. I just needed to have the chance to plead my case.
Shan and I did awesome. We were like a power couple this whole damn time.
I think I got everything I needed out of here, and I think a lot of you helped me get through some of that. I'm just happy and grateful.
I'm here to inspire kids who is growing up in poverty. Did I say the right way?
Poverty.
Poverty. Okay. Never give up on your dreams.
I gotta say, having been here every single day of every single season, the reason we're all still out here 21 years in is because of this.
So, that is my review of Survivor 41, from the pre-merge to the post-merge to the finale, the cast, the twist, and a lot of stuff in between. And as far as the reunion goes, I will say I kind of liked the on-island reunion. It cut out a lot of the unnecessary fluff that we usually get. If you go back and rewatch them, modern Survivor reunions have really gone down the drain. They just like promote other CBS shows at this point. But this one was personal. It actually felt like an old school reunion with a modern twist. It did lack the long-term self-reflection though, and I would probably still take the usual live studio audience because that's just what I'm used to, and I think it works really well. Plus, with the live version, the actual talking points of the season can be brought up. But I get why they're switching it up for now. But what did you all think? Did you like the season? Not like it? Somewhere in the middle? Of all the seasons you've seen, where would you rank it? As the freezing wind blows as we close out 2021, we've got our first all-out Canadian winner and Filipino winner. And coincidentally, I'm actually heading up to Canada for the holidays for the first time in my life. And no, not to Ontario. See? I've learned how to pronounce it correctly. A huge thank you to my patrons on the screen for taking me to the final tribal. I promise you haven't made a huge mistake. Don't forget to study up your game theory on your way out, and I will see you in the next one. Once I wonder what the heck Jeff has in store for Survivor, drop the 4, wait for it, keep the 2. Is that Amazing, the logo?
What did I get myself into?
It's Survivor 42. Premieres next spring. I also just want to answer the question. If you're wondering, where do you get pizza? We make it. Stu made this. Really good, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my God.